I know in the past you mentioned that having a lot of money sitting in the bank is like having lazy money. What are some ways that people listening can put their money to work?
I would never hire a bunch of employees and tell them to sit on the couch and just wait until I need them. I don't need them yet. I just want them to sit on the couch and be on call. But that's what we do with our money. At the very, very, very worst, and I don't recommend this, but you could easily put your money into treasuries or CDs and earn 5 or 5.5% right now. It's better than just doing nothing. It depends on what your investment goals are, though. I can't really give blanket investment advice to your listeners and audience today, but I will say this: putting your money to work as an owner is going to make a greater long-term return on investment than anything else. You have owners and you have lenders. I'm personally an owner. Our clients are mostly owners. So when you own, you have equity. And when you have equity, you're buying stocks, you're buying real estate, you're buying things that you can own and see appreciation. And I love real estate. I have lots of different kinds of real estate myself. I will say this, though, there's nothing like being an owner in the stock market. Like, would you rather own Google stock or the building that Google has their business run out of? Would you rather bought that building 20 years ago or bought the stock? Like, there's an exponential growth in the markets that's available nowhere else. So I think having a plan before you invest is critical, and then becoming an owner is also critical, being able to be long-term patient. So there's a different strategy when you're talking about your law firm's cash in the bank that's just sitting there. Maybe you're going to need that in 3 to 6 or 12 months. That's different than the money you as an owner are going to be investing for your long-term financial security. Those are two different conversations.
Yep. And speaking of the mental side of this, I want to talk about the role like emotions can play in financial decisions, right? Because a lot of times this stuff is simple, but not easy. And especially when there's any sort of market volatility, people tend to freak out, right? So what is a way that people can maintain a rational approach to their investments, to their money overall, even when there's ups and downs in the market?
First of all, that's completely normal. Everyone goes through it. Doesn't matter how wealthy or how unwealthy you are, you're going to have those emotions. It's a roller coaster. That's part of the experience. If there was no volatility, you wouldn't deserve to earn that 8 to 12% average return in the stock market. That's just part of the deal. So one thing that we do, we create an investment policy guide up front. So we make commitments as a firm, and we ask our clients to make the same commitments. We sign it, we look at it, we discuss the goals, we discuss the strategy. We even have a what if plan, like what if there's a big market crash? How are we going to respond to that? And I think having that as a benchmark to look back on is very important, because when things get rocky, you can look back on it. For example, 2007, 2008, the stock market was down a lot. I had clients that were traveling together in Europe. I got a phone call on my cell phone, and it was a very bad week in the stock market. And they were in Austria, and they were huddled around, these two couples were huddled around their phone on the speakerphone. And they're like, Chad, hey, it's so-and-so and so-and-so. We're just watching the markets, watching the news over here. It's almost midnight over where we're at. Please tell me you've sold everything. Like, we can't continue to watch this go down. And I was like, are you guys sitting down? And they said, yeah. And I said, not only did I not sell everything, like today we actually moved some of the money into buying some aggressive stock investments in your portfolios. And one of the guys, he said some words that we don't normally say at a business call. And he said, I can't take this. And he walked away. And the other guy stayed on the phone. And I said, look, you guys hired me because you trust me. You hired me to do the hard work in the trenches. You hired me to get the results, regardless of how scary it is. So I'm going to need you guys to just trust me on this. We can go back and look at the investment policy guide, and we'll go through it together. But this is what we stated as the goals. I asked that key question, have your goals changed? And the answer was no. And I said, okay, if the goals haven't changed, we're not jumping off the ship. We're not going to jump off the roller coaster while the ride is still in motion. And guess what? Like 3 or 4 years later, those investments bought on that week when they were in Austria are the greatest investments those guys have ever owned. Fast forward to 2020, we have COVID come. Market's down 40% in 1 month. Guess who's asking me, hey, have you found any good deals that we can invest in? Those same two couples. Same two couples are still with us And they're asking me to make sure we're hunting for stuff because they remember that experience from 2008. And scary enough, Michael, a lot of financial professionals do the same thing that clients do. They curl up in a ball in a fetal position under their desk with a lot of fear, watching CNBC, not doing anything for the portfolios, maybe even selling out, maybe even selling low. I see it happen. It's disappointing professionally to see that from my peers, but it happens a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this has been one of like the greatest predictors of success in all aspects of life has been what someone's time horizon is, right? So it's like meaning that are they able to not just delay gratification, but do they think rather than in weeks and months and maybe in a year, but do they think in longer time scales, right? A decade or more. And when you have a longer time horizon, any short-term fluctuations really don't affect you in the same way.
So true. Yeah. And I think you're a great example of that, Michael. Everyone who knows you and knows your business knows how long-term decisions have helped you filter out how you're going to build and grow what you've done. But Dr. Benjamin Hardy calls that looking at his future self, my future self. And if you look forward of where you want to be and use that as your filter looking to the present, you're going to make better decisions, both with your money, your health, your family, everything else that you're working on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also just this idea that you don't have to win today. I think this is a lot of the problem with social media, because if you go on any of these platforms, TikTok, Instagram, there's somebody talking about some 3-day course that they can take, or they could become a millionaire at the end, or some real estate asset they could buy that would take them from rags to riches, or cryptocurrency or NFTs, or whatever it is. And that attracts a lot of people because this idea of I don't have to wait a long time and I don't really have to put too much in. And then my life can go from being wherever I am today to just abundance in a short period of time.
Yeah, it's the Amazon Prime, or it's the microwave theory. It's just, it doesn't work with wealth, especially. It doesn't work in most places, but especially wealth. Like that's where people lose a lot of money. You're not going to have that good long-term perspective if you don't have clear targets.
Yeah.
You're not going to hit any target you don't set. So it starts with really clearly defining where you want to go.